Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proof.
This is Dan.
This
Stone.
is Dexter from The Offspring.
Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is David Lapp.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick
I'm
Gillette.
Christopher
This is
Knopf.
Dr. Bob Greenberg.
I'm Laird Hamilton.
This is Rob Bell. Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, I'm Mark Valley.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Dr. Robert Greenberg, as my friends call me, and welcome to the Break It Down Show.
This is Justin Levitt. I don't know that I have many friends. I'm kidding. And this is the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero, Mark Valley, and Pete A. Turner.
Here's the test. Does Michael McDonald still take a Fender Rhodes on the road?
Who is Michael McDonald? Sorry.
He's one of the...
Sorry, dudes.
You know his music.
He's jerking our chain. Cut it out. You know, he might. I think
he's got to play the hits,
piano,
right?
But yeah, he's got to play the hits.
So he's got a Fender Rhodes.
I know a good amount of musicians who still use the Fender Rhodes in concert.
Sure.
Just to get
In
super
concert,
funky.
or do they use some kind of Yamaha
with the,
that has
with the sample.
that has a Fender Rhodes sampler on it?
Well, that's
Because that's
easier
more
to
likelihood,
do. Yeah.
and they're a hell of a lot easier to carry around.
But if you're a guy who doesn't have
Yeah,
to worry
just
about
wait
carrying it
500
around,
pounds.
like Herbie or like Michael McDonald or one of those guys
those
who
guys
played
aren't
the
carrying
instrument,
it, yeah.
and George Duke probably still takes one around. Excuse me, pardon me, George Duke, may he rest in peace.
Right.
Took one around till he died. So I argue that it might be timeless, but you say no.
Well, and there you go. I have associations that you don't.
Yeah.
And that's part of the issue, isn't it? We all have our own experiences, and we heard certain things, and we did certain things at certain times, and they might have associations. That someone living now, I mean, we
But
all
look
know
at the 70s also gave us tight polyester pants that highlited the equipage.
and have not gone out of style.
I've never stopped wearing them.
Yeah.
I'm wearing them right now.
The triple Cleveland, white belt, white pants, white shoes.
Actually,
is always
Justin is lying. I don't. You know what? If a man is
Are you going to
wearing,
let him make Cleveland the claim for that? Was that not present in Cincinnati? Come on.
That was not present.
those guys focused on chili.
if a man is wearing pants that give him a camel toe, he shouldn't be wearing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Men don't get
okay.
camel
We-
toes.
oh yes, they do. Those
men get-
polyester pants. I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Men get moose knuckles.
I'm sorry.
I'll argue semantics.
No. Leisure suits give you moose knuckles, but polyester pants do other bad things.
That debate happened on the Break It Down
I
show.
played in a disco band.
Yeah.
In 74 and
course you
75. I had to. That's how you made money.
That's right. You made
You're a
living.
musician, you make money any way you can, and if you have the skills and someone hires you, you
What
do
was
it.
your hairstyle in this band?
I had that crazy 1970s hair everywhere.
Right.
And I had this weak ass mustache that was more flesh than stash, but there you go. You never have these things when
Any
you want
headband?
them. No headband.
A cape?
No.
Velour?
No, we had the same silk shirts.
Sweet.
And white belts.
Yes.
And mine was powder blue.
Wow.
And I did not wear white shoes. That's where I drew the freaking line.
Right.
I just could
Double
not.
Cleveland.
Well,
you
you
had
know what?
standards.
If you still have them, you could play Florida. But,
I could, but white shoes, I'm convinced, make your testicles cleave, and I couldn't go there. I couldn't go there. I gave up enough when I was 4 days old, and they gave me the circumcision.
Cloven testicles.
I'm going to wear white shoes and reinforce the damage. No. We all listen. We all have a point where we have to draw a line.
It's a limit.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
That's why his testicles remained intact.
For our audience, since this is in my house, and if there's been background noise, it's because my kids are getting ready.
Your kids.
But my beautiful daughter has been making us cookies.
Oh,
She's
come
been
on.
She rules.
She's been making us
She
peanut
really
butter
does.
chocolate chip
I love
cookies.
peanut butter chocolate chip cookies.
And
can you not?
I got a birthday tomorrow, so part of it is
right.
in honor of my birthday.
Wow.
But most of it's in honor of just a bunch of
and
guys.
she typically closes out our shows
Yeah.
with a little
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
on the piano as well.
And this is what
Wow.
Lily. This is what
You
Lily
are
has been
so
doing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lily.
Wow.
Thank you, baby.
Stir another one of your peanut butters because I used it the rest
It's okay. We'll take care of it. Don't worry.
They got more peanut
Darn.
butter.
Close the door, honey.
Darn, she used all the peanut
So
butter.
I want to get back to the other side of that equation with the dated sound is what allows a sound to not be dated? How can some of the Beatles sounds be so fresh, and so many other things? Like what is it? Do you think that hits our ear right?
I think there's a lot of different things, and some of them I can speak to, and many of them you could speak to better than I can. But for me, and now I'm going to sound like an old freaking Luddite, and that's okay. That's what I am. One thing that does not date sounds is acoustic instruments, because they are timeless. We've been listening to guitars, acoustic guitars. We've been listening to pianos. We've been listening to a lot of instruments for a long time in a lot of different contexts. So we're used to hearing an acoustic guitar sound like this, and we've been used to hearing it played by Robert Johnson, and we've been used to hearing it played by George Harrison, and we've been used to hearing it played by Andre Segovia. And so it's played a lot of different musics in a lot of contexts, and as a result, it works in any context and doesn't sound dated because this music goes back centuries. The same is true for me with the piano.
I thought you were saying that you go back centuries.
No, not yet. Not yet, dear. Not yet.
I'm going to reinforce that comment, though, because one of the things in that last album fight that annoyed us, we love Brian May, but one of the things that annoyed us was that overdriven, phase-shifted Les Paul. Mm-hmm. And it was like, man, enough with the, and it's a dated sound because of the synthetic part of it.
And you hear a lot of similar peer band sounds, which I think lends to the aging of a sound.
Totally. Like when I took sound for film, their movies don't reuse the same sound effect over and over and over because you start to recognize it. Mm-hmm. When you recognize something, it's no longer interesting or fresh, and you can,
Our friend Raul Vega makes his living coming up with new sounds for hell's that bastard's name?
I want to say Jan Hammer because that's not.
I know. I almost said Jan Hammer.
Hans Zimmer.
It's not Jan Hammer.
But God bless Jan Hammer. Let's have him on the show.
Yeah. Let's get Hans Zimmer too. But
he's kind of a big deal.
He hasn't said yes yet, so that's why.
He hasn't said no.
That's true. No. That's true.
He doesn't belong here if he doesn't come begging to be on the show.
Raul Vega's occupation is he is a sampler of new sounds because they have to create new sounds at a rate that allows him to stay busy.
Right.
You're absolutely. I mean, it's funny that you guys this is why we come to.
But they date
see
so
you
quickly
guys, because you give us so much positive
They date so quickly because once you've created something and now it's become part of the public ear and you need to go buy it, it's now dated. It's yesterday's newspaper.
They're like Catholic schoolgirls. They date so quickly.
If acoustic instruments,
that's what I've heard.
If acoustic instruments have legs, why is that not always true with the piano? Because there's certainly piano things that you'd like that is from the 30s. And
like
no one wants to hear it. Oh, like if someone, like a swing band.
Scott Joplin.
Yeah,
like a ragtime.
Ragtime. What does Jules play? What's his style?
Boogie Woogie.
Boogie Woogie.
You guys are killing me. I love that stuff. I'm sorry you're killing me.
I love it. I listen to Boogie Woogie all day long.
It is a dated sound, though.
If the piano's out of tune.
Okay.
And
when
the recordings, not that awesome.
That's what was dated, right? Was the recording technology.
You know what? I'm going to clarify what I mean when I say a sound is dated. It's dated in a negative way, in that it seems not to exist as a relevant expression, but simply as an object of its time.
A memorial, or not a memory-based
a symbol of its time, something that's more nostalgia than of any contemporary expressive use. A good boogie player is, to me, totally contemporary. Someone who can play Joplin well, oh my God, it's magnificent.
Yeah.
It's like listening to Brahms for me.
I mean, it's like I love skiffle bands. Oh, wait, no, I don't.
No, I was about to say, Pete?
Okay, so...
Do we need to contact medical authorities?
I get what you're saying, like there's like a time machine element where it takes you to a happy place from that time. So sometimes that doesn't work, though, and particularly with a synth, because I can't say synthesizer right now, but those sounds, like Bon Jovi from the mid-'80s, when we do this album fight next, we're going to hear Brian play that thing, and we're going to say, That's just old.
See, and here's the other thing. You're not talking about the sound. You're talking about the style.
Yes.
You're not talking about the sound of an acoustic piano. You're talking about the style of the music.
Right. No, but he's talking about the sound of the keyboard that David Bryan used in that record, because it does have a timestamp.
Right.
But also, I think I am talking about style, though, does matter, like in how the chord progression goes and like the pacing.
It's going to be all...
I argue that it matters more. It matters more.
Clarify so I understand what
style matters more.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, but we were talking about before, not that anything is timeless, but what's relatively timeless. And my statement was, on one hand, acoustic instruments are relatively timeless for certain good reasons. I think you guys were putting your finger on it before, apropos of rock and roll. And that is stuff that is over-manipulated, like those film score sounds, because you can only do it once, and you can't do it again, because when you do it again, it just sounds like you're riffing off yourself from the past, or you're riffing off someone else, God forbid.
Yeah.
It can't be done twice, and once 5 years passes, it's not part of a common vocabulary. Stuff sounds universal when it becomes part of the common vocabulary.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because when we listened to Squeeze was impactful, and they were important, and they were influential, but they never did become part of the common vocabulary.
Here.
Right. Yeah. And by here, Pete means in the United States, specifically on the west coast of the United States.
Yeah, they're much more important in the UK.
Right.
For sure. And not that they're, like Paul Weller's another great example. He's a legend.
Yeah.
Elvis Costello made it off the island. Paul Weller didn't. There's really no difference between their capability in terms of songwriting and everything else.
However, when you listen to Allison versus, and if it becomes the common vocabulary, if it becomes the essence of that time period, it's like the great hairstyle that made it through the 70s, whatever one that is.
Oh my God, I'm still looking for it.
Right. But in the
I thought you already found it.
In the search,
baldness.
In the search, we ran across many things that did not stand the test of time, and those are the things that look dated.
And there's nothing wrong with
that.
There's nothing wrong with dated. It's just, for example, in the tonal language, in the musical language, and I won't even say the tonal language. I'll just say any composer working today can draw on virtually anything that's been done in the last 2,000 years, anywhere on the planet, because we're living in a very eclectic age.
Yep.
And providing that we can incorporate it into our music in a way that has our own personal stamp on it, it not only is legitimate, it's a reflection of what our world should be, which is a diverse world that somehow we integrate in a special sort of way.
So, two quick things. First, I want to make sure you guys that are listening understand just how fucking amazing Lily's chocolate peanut butter cookies are.
Jesus.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Secondly, that's exactly what I try to do with my music, right? So I started my own genre of music called life music, which allows me to write in all these different styles. But while writing all these different styles, I retain my own musical style because I've been influenced by so many different things that I just like to play, something that might sound like Ragtime, or something that might sound like a film score, something that might make you cry, right? So,
but I found it doesn't sound like it evokes without crossing the line into shtick, and that's an important point because some people can't do that. Yeah. I know Justin's music really well because I've had the opportunity to help edit a good bit of it.
Lucky me.
And it doesn't cross into shtick.
No, it doesn't. It means that there's
that's the distinction.
90%
really the way to boil down the distinction.
90% of it is Justin Levitt. And so stylistic issues add to the impact rather than become the impact. And that's something that every composer has to deal with. To what degree do you want to evoke external musical influences? To what degree do you want to sound like something that's not you? And if you do want to do that, how do you still contain it within your own voice?
Right.
You take that whole artistic pot that you just put in front of us, which is crazy, trying to sort through that, and then you have, and I'm going to put it in your realm and my realm as weak over here, but Mozart considering pop versus what he wants to do. And that's been an artist's choice for a long time. You know, like what do you? I know what to make what will sell. This is boring, and I can do this all day long.
Sure. But
this is what I need to create. How do you? Like Fishbone has always made the artistic choice. They didn't care if they sold the goddamn records or not. They're a party band. The people are going to love them no matter what, and they've always made that choice. But now looking back, when they're like, my back hurts too much to jump around. I mean, you know, they can't do the same things for very much longer.
I've been doing this dance with a bari sax so long, my neck isn't right.
Yeah, a bass sax.
And you're lucky it's only your neck.
Right.
For God's sake, bass sax.
Yeah, it's huge.
By the way, just off the topic, and I want to get back to this in a second, but did you all read about Huey Lewis today?
No. What happened?
Yeah.
He lost his hearing.
He lost his hearing.
Jesus Christ.
He lost his hearing overnight at a gig in Denver.
What?
A month ago.
Yeah.
He's canceled everything.
And they're on the verge of a big tour.
For 2018. Huge tours. Everything's canceled. Maybe it's a syndrome. Maybe there's something that can be done. Maybe there's something that can't be done. But if there is something that can be done, it means like almost total silence for a year.
Wow.
And I mean, talk about a Bay Area icon. I mean, you know.
Well, let's go beyond that. I mean, one of the things that when we've had this idea for these album fights is we were trying to figure out what's the bar for greatness for an album. Mm-hmm. Anything above this. So there's a gatekeeper, and it's a badass motherfucker that stands there and says, you better have 5 songs that kick ass, or so.
And we've decided on the gatekeeper.
Yeah, we think it's sports until we find out otherwise.
Yeah, we think if you're not as good as sports, you haven't made it into the club.
Yeah.
That's the Huey Lewis album, Sports. And then you can look to an album like Off the Wall, or you can look to, you know, anything where you can go, yeah, that's in the league.
Appetite for Destruction.
And understand that it's
right.
in the league. And then, you know, so that's really where we've decided the bar is. Huey Lewis sets the bar.
It broke my heart reading that.
Yeah, it's terrible.
He just, you know.
I've never heard of that.
He woke up, I mean, he went on stage.
Right.
And suddenly realized he couldn't hear any low frequencies. And, of course, the singer tunes to the bass line. Mm-hmm. Couldn't sing in tune. He went off, and his hearing collapsed to like this tiny little bit, just like boom. And it's a syndrome that's not uncommon for people who've abused their hearing, as rock and you know, and pop singers do abuse their hearing.
Yeah.
He's 68, I think that's what it said.
Yeah.
He's a young guy by comparison to the way we are today, and he's got a long career in front of him. It just broke my heart.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew about that.
He's been a great provider in the Bay Area too.
Yeah.
We have friends on that tour. Marvin McFadden's on that tour. Johnny Cola contributed to our Sly Stone episode, and we have grown up in the Bay Area and have loved his, you know, what he means to this area.
Sure.
And you know, he's spread the fruits of music around here.
Wanted to bring that up. We just, knock on wood, we want his hearing to come back.
Yeah. Godspeed. We love you, Huey Lewis.
Yeah. And maybe the best going Star Spangled Banner anywhere around. You know, when those guys get out there and sing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he doesn't go out there and have those canine-like ululations of some of those chick singers.
Ululations.
Ululations. Those are the sounds human beings make when they're under the most great duress.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, when your toes are being crushed. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going with toes, but I had a visual also.
I was going with the lower body as opposed to the mid body.
Where were we before we took your aside about Huey? Because you were going somewhere, and I wanted to hear what that was.
We were going somewhere, and we were going.
But we digress, as we often do.
No, we didn't digress. We jumped forward.
Okay.
You kind of were going down a track, which always reminded me of a saying from a writing coach that I once had, that hacks borrow and artists steal. And then that concept of knowing what it is that makes something great.
Art versus pop. We're talking about that balance, right? Yeah. And how you sort through that.
He remembers because he's had half a martini. Let's just get that out there.
But only half.
Right. We're like, what was that?
Actually, I wouldn't, you know what? Here's something I'm asked all the time. I mean, I wish I had $1 for every time I was asked. I could
Where'd
retire
you get those
tomorrow.
Pants?
Those polyester pants that are doing the camel toe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got those in a 1970s resale shop.
Nice
Thank you
knuckle.
very much. Yeah, right, exactly.
Right. At the Montgomery Wards.
I wouldn't wear those to a Halloween party. And you know what?
Don't those hurt?
Ouch. Exactly. Ouch, dude.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
I got to go to the photomat kiosk out front of the Montgomery Wards and turn the film in.
Excuse me, I've got to wear a muumuu now, thank you. I don't distinguish between pop and classical and jazz anymore. I mean, I can make distinctions with the music, and we were talking earlier about distinctions.
Yeah.
But I hate the terms because the terms carry with them so much freaking baggage.
Yeah.
And this is not a new statement. It's tiresome to talk about this, but it's relevant still, because by saying something is popular, we imply that it's not lasting. And by saying something is classical, we imply that it plumbs a higher level of experience that excludes anything that might be popular to a larger number of people. By calling something jazz, we mean this and that, and the terms are meaningless.
That's
and
a good point.
I know we need to use them because otherwise we can't make broad distinctions.
Yes, yeah.
But the broad distinctions are nevertheless very damaging in the long run. So I try not to distinguish between so-called serious music and I mean, what's serious music? I mean, people look at, for example, what they call classical music,
The
which
music that you want to make versus the music the label wants you to make.
And let's not even talk about
Right. That's right.
let's not even talk about the industry.
Okay.
Let's talk about pre-industry.
Okay.
Classical music. I like classical music. What the freak does that mean? Well, you like music by dead Germans and Ruskies, right? Yeah, that's what I like. That's what I like. To some level above the hoi polloi that the rest of us might be. But in point of fact, if you look at the composers of this so-called art music, they're all middle-class artisans or working-class artisans. Rich people don't need to write music for a living. Right. They can hire people to write music for a living. Rich people don't do squat, excuse me, when it comes to the arts. The best thing they can do is be patrons of the arts.
Right.
And I can only...
You just equated what we know as hoity-toity classical music to, like, boxing.
You just knocked it out, yeah.
Yeah. It's the field workers who want to escape the field. Well, let's get in this ring and beat the shit out of each other, and we'll see who's still standing.
Rich people do not make a living getting punched in the face.
Right.
This is very true.
Yeah.
This is very true. Listen, every major...
They'll synchronize swim like a monk.
Well,
Every
They will synchronize...
In Walnut Creek.
Right.
Every major or even minor composer you can say to me, with the exception of someone named Carlo Gesualdo...
I don't know who that is.
Who was a Duke of Venosa, an Italian nobleman. And yes, Frederick the Great wrote a couple of flute concerti because he had a really good teacher named J.J. Quantz.
Oh, J.J., I know him.
Yeah, but J.J., dude, was just like all the other composers, and that was a middle-class or working-class person. The people who write the music are of the working class.
Wow.
They're not aristocrats writing music for their class. They're working class people making a living by creating art that can be consumed by whomever wants to pay for it.
Right.
But the bottom line is, whether you're talking about Bach or Monteverdi or Beethoven or Tchaikovsky or any of these people, none of them was born into great wealth, because if they were, they would never have been freaking composers to start with.
Just like Oscar de la Hoya.
And
I think so.
Hey, Rachmaninoff, dance monkey.
So,
God, I didn't say that. That's a whole white guy.
What we have to do is we have to look at all this music as not
It's really the same.
Not by the
throughout
person
ages.
who commissioned it, but by the person who wrote
created
it.
Yeah.
Who wrote it.
And at
and
some
the
point
environment
they
in which it was written.
At least reached a point of acclaim that allowed them some of the creature comforts that just allowed the patrons to say, we take pretty good care of you. We need you to keep churning out that music.
But
Bruno
the creature
Mars
comforts,
or whoever.
well,
yeah.
Listen, the difference between what I'm talking about now in a pre-electronic media and the Bruno Mars of our time is because of the nature of electronic media, which can... Beethoven, God bless him, 1770 to 1827. If you wanted to hear a piece by Beethoven, you had to play it yourself, or you had to sit in a small room and hear someone else play it.
Yeah.
Same with Brahms, who was born in 1833 and died in 1897. But as soon as you get into people lived in the 20th century, the first microphones were used to amplify the human voice in the early 1930s. As soon as you have an electronic media, everything changes because you don't have to be in the room with someone to hear them sing.
Right.
Or play.
You can capture
or
reproduce.
do a podcast.
You can capture.
Thank you.
And you can increase the public by orders of magnitude and the profit basis by orders of magnitude. So Bruno Mars has, in his youth, made more money than probably every composer born before 1900 put together times 5. Because it's the nature of the world as it is now. And so, yes, our musicians can have a comfort level today that is so far beyond anything we can, or certain musicians, present company excluded, sadly.
But not out of the gates, right? I mean,
You're looking
99.
over Dr. Bob's shoulder at a world-class view.
That look, bless us all.
Complaining about dance monkey?
No, I'm not complaining, but this view is because I invested cleverly in real estate, not because I've made a great success as a musician.
Well said.
And also because I've been lucky enough to live in the Bay Area.
I texted Dave Miller your address, and his reaction was, "That's not a musician's address."
We have cool people in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Clay Thompson used to live down the block.
Yeah. He lives up the hill from Clay Thompson.
Yeah.
Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo lives around the block.
Yeah.
Who else lives up here?
Me. My kids.
Look, in Bob's defense, he's lived here for a long time, well before everything was 5 bazillion times more expensive.
Live here I've been here 15 years.
And you might live in like the
and let's face it, Dr. Bob needs no defense.
He's a big deal.
Yeah, he's a big deal.
Who's that?
He's
Jerry Brown lives around the corner.
Used to.
to.
He moved. He sold his house on Skyline. Yeah.
Oh, has he moved?
And you work hard like a middle class guy has to do. You've got 27 jobs. You know.
One of the nice things.
27 jobs and 1,000 hours on the grade courses.
One of the cool things I have, and that I can do, I look at where I grew up. In
Levittown, New Jersey.
Levittown,
right.
Tissant, New Jersey.
So cool.
And Nate Boyer played for Texas.
And it's nice.
No, Texas.
It's nice. We all can say this.
Yeah.
Is that you work your butt off.
Yeah.
And you get lucky. And I moved I have to say I moved to the Bay Area
at the right time.
It was, and I'm not even talking financial or real estate good time. I moved to the Bay Area. This is going to sound disgusting, and people in New York,
Say the year that you moved to the Bay Area.
I moved here 40 years ago, 78.
1978.
And
holy cow, what a time to move to the Bay Area.
Everything good that's happened to me in my life has happened because I was here. No, after the trousers. That was post-trouser, dude. In fact, when I drove over the state line from Nevada, Chips stopped my car, and they wanted to know, do you have any plants, any cheese, any polyester pants?
Which he was hiding.
They're gonna confiscate all that crap, confiscate all that before you're allowed into the state. Because they say, we don't do male camel toe here. And I said, got it, baby. Got it, baby. Got it.
Not a problem.
No taking.
Not a problem.
Hasn't done it since. So,
in public.
1978. So let's talk about what you experienced when you moved here in 1978. What was happening?
I was walking down Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, and all the homeless people would say, spare a joint. Spare a joint. They didn't want a buck. They wanted a joint.
Right. What was happening musically in the Bay Area in 1978?
You know what? And here, you're going to hate me. You're going to lose your respect for me.
Come on.
Don't know. I came here for grad school in music composition.
Yeah.
You and your damn grad school.
But you know what happens? You know what happens, Pete? In all reality, I didn't have a car. I was living near campus. I was walking to campus. It was a totally closed environment for me. It was a bubble. You walk to Morrison Hall, which was the music building on the Cal campus, still is. You do your classes, you come home, you write, you go back, you teach, you come home, you write.
Yeah, you're in grad school.
And
they purposefully overload you at Cal so that you were immersed.
It's an utter, absolute bubble. Now, the only thing that brought me outside of the bubble was I needed to make extra money because I wasn't making enough as a TA. So I found a job playing piano in a restaurant called the Pewter House on Grand Avenue in Oakland. It's not there. It hasn't been there for 100 years. But for like 3 years, I found a way to borrow cars or get myself to Pewter House on Friday and Saturday nights. I'd play. They'd give me $40, but mostly they'd give me dinner.
Dinner, right? That's what I was going to say.
Mostly they'd give me dinner, which was always, you know, a big slab of leftover prime rib, exactly. And I'd hang out. I'd hang out as I always did before I came out there. I played in restaurants and bars. You know, you hang out with the cocktail waitresses. You hang out with the staff, with the bartender,
with the kitchen.
The great guy called Marin. You know, and after hours, that becomes your little family.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's
and the hookup. Hey, let me get some of those capers.
Yeah, right.
That's what took me. That's what took me out of my bubble.
What is that, Parmesan?
That's what. Well, I got to eat twice a week. I got to eat.
That's what pulled you out of the bowl.
Did you hear any buzz of the Haight-Ashbury at that time, or is that?
No, I knew all about that. Of course, you know. I mean, when I was, it was in
'78. By then,
it was all gone.
All that stuff was.
It was all gone.
It was already a gap.
But
by then.
But the summer of love was when I was 13, and I still remember, you know, kids in my middle school or junior high school class, Freya Sumbler, doing a whole report on the summer of love. And I wanted to live in the Bay Area from the time I was a little kid.
Wow.
And so coming here was not an incidental.
No. You're absolutely perfect.
It was a perfect. It was a purposeful act. Yeah. But no, by '78, what had been campy and hip was just scuzz. You know,
but '78
sadly.
in the Bay Area, what was that Journey album we did? Escape.
That
was recorded at Fantasy Studios in Berkeley in '78.
Yeah,
Fantasy, cool.
and all the music that was going on in Oakland is literally 2 miles from where you were. But you're right. You're in grad school. They're like, read this entire book.
Meanwhile,
and compose
Tower of Powers, reporting back to Oakland.
Before I came out here, I was in a band.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business, or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
In '76, '77, I was transcribing Tower of Power, charting it out, and my band was playing it. So I was totally aware of this stuff. The fact that I didn't seek it out is insanity. Bill Evans played his last sets, which are recorded.
At the Greek?
No, in San Francisco.
Okay.
And this is like 3 weeks before he dropped dead.
Yeah.
And it's about eight albums. I think it's on Fantasy, but I'm not sure. Did I ever think of... I didn't have any money. I couldn't buy tickets to anything.
Yeah.
I mean, even taking BART was out of my budget. I mean, it's crazy how poor we all are at that age. It's crazy looking back at what money we didn't have at 22 and 23 and 24. Crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, you know, we were my roommate and I. When we were adventurous cooking, you know, it would be like I still remember my roommate Eric.
You gonna put garlic on that Spam?
No. He would say, "You want your hot dogs in the beans or on the side?" You know.
Dude, yeah.
I mean, Denison's chili was a Friday night wild. You know.
My cats used to eat better than I.
Yeah. Right. Why didn't you eat the cats?
Because I love the cats.
That's no reason.
I worked at Costco, and one of the greatest days ever was some lady forgot to take her beer and her giant box of potato buds out of this cart.
Oh.
And like,
home run.
Done.
We're all high-fiving?
Beer and potato buds. Done.
Were you on the phone to every woman you know?
Right.
I scored.
Tonight is the night. Tonight's the night I look like a breadwinner.
Yeah. Right. Beer and buds before. Yeah. Yeah.
So in the years that you came here in '78 in grad school, which means that you were immersed in that experience until '81, let's say?
'84.
Okay. '78 to '84, it took him 6 years to do grad school, but he didn't have time for any other music. Is anybody else doing the math at this table?
I did jazz.
Okay. So,
I mean, that's what I played.
Right. That's right. You were hunting down those slabs of prime rib.
That's what I did. I played jazz. But you know, I wanted to be a composer. And I thought I was going to end my life as a professor somewhere in music composition, which means you spend 60 years marking the same harmony paper over and over again. It's kind of... Groundhog Day in its own way.
But with shitty harmonies.
Correct. But that's what I thought I wanted to be an academe.
Torture.
And and I was an academe.
An academe and a musician at the same time. Is that?
Well, a musical academe.
Yeah.
I taught until 2001. And before I even came out here, I taught high school.
But the reality is you teach every day. You just taught me that a dead German who wrote music 300 years ago is also a very interesting whoremonger.
Who?
I don't know. I'm just making these things
I
up.
was about to say, dude, tell me. I need to know this shit.
I don't know the
Got Shocks. That guy.
Well, he wasn't a whoremonger.
Yeah, but he ran around banging broads so much he had to leave the country.
but he didn't pay him.
He made a mistake. He
made a mistake.
Errors, as they said after Watergate, errors were made.
He's the guy. He's
Oakland,
the guy who
California.
Came up with the saying,
It happened
How
right
do you make
here.
a hormone? Don't pay her.
Oh, that's harsh.
That's right. It did happen here.
It happened right here in Oakland.
In the biggity.
What happens in Oakland does not stay in Oakland.
No, it does not.
Oaktown.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no. He was a good guy, actually. He just made a terrible mistake.
Uh-huh. And so, that's right.
We're messing with your audience, aren't we?
Go back to go back and watch the episode of Scandalous Overtures.
Yeah.
And you can find it on auratv.com. And you'll see Dr. Bob educating us about some of the more interesting dynamics of these folks who we sort of put up on a pedestal for being hoity-toity classical musicians, classical composers.
Who were just people.
Right.
Like us.
Right.
Yeah. And you guys should check
the
out
concept of chasing tail.
You guys should check out. We actually should plug Dr. Bob a little bit.
Yeah, let's plug Dr. Bob a
So
little bit. 2 hours into the podcast.
You can buy any of the courses from the great courses that you have taught. Over 600 hours of classes. I have consumed them. They are wonderful. You've taught me so much. Yeah, right.
Insane.
All I can tell you is this: you were crazy if you love music and you don't buy this stuff.
Yeah.
You also every Monday write.
We want to tell them that they can get that at robertgreenbergmusic.com.
That's
Only best place to get it.
For download.
Yep.
That's right. And then you can also every Monday get your 1100-ish or so word lesson on music from that date in history every Monday. And those are also awesome. You might hear about the Break It Down show on there, but you'll also hear about actual musicians. Also a great place to go do things.
And that can be on my Facebook page, which is Robert Greenberg Music Facebook Facebook, and also my website. And now I'm also putting out vlogs because I've been told you need to put out vlogs,
right?
Which is a video blog. And so those started coming out.
Those vlogs are terrific.
Yeah, the first couple have come out.
Yeah, what Bob's been able to do is make all this older, interesting music actually entertaining and fun to listen to and learn about, which is very rare.
Thank you.
So yeah, if you're gonna check it out,
and
you're gonna enjoy it.
Also, give it a modern context.
You know, everything needs context, and I'm not giving it a modern context. But thank you for saying that, John. What I'm doing is just giving it its context.
Giving it its context.
Giving it its context, and because we're all smart enough, we all can make the connection.
Sure.
You know, we're all smart enough and experienced enough to realize that, that sounds like me.
Yeah.
That sounds like my life. That sounds like the world that I live in. Because truly, we all live in the same freaking world. Yeah. And the world has not changed dramatically in the last 500 years. It really hasn't. Yes, we have antibiotics, and yes, we have toys, electronic toys. But human nature and the way we are and the way we act, I'm sorry, our species has been in existence for a long time. And there's nothing terribly new about the way we behave.
Dave Miller's potentially longer than the rest of ours, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So I also want to say that in your providing context for a rich history of music, you also have been able to give placement of this music in history and really play the history against the music and vice versa to give it a life that it hasn't had just by listening to it.
Well, that's what interests me.
Yeah.
You know, nothing occurs in a vacuum.
Right.
When I have to tell you, my grandmother was a brilliant piano player. I mean, we're always hearing, my aunt was a concert pianist. No, your aunt was not a concert pianist. Your aunt played once a month at church. That's not a concert pianist. My grandmother was a concert pianist, okay? She actually made money playing concerts.
Right.
That's what a concert pianist is. Someone who makes a living playing concerts. She graduated from Juilliard in 1916, when it was still the New York Institute of Musical Art. It became Juilliard in 1924. Now, back to the point, I'm not trying to just be gratuitous here. She studied a piano method called the Leishativsky method, which was very hot at the turn of the 20th century. And the Leishativsky method was all about hand. So you put your hands on the piano with your palm upright and your fingers down like spiders. And when I was a kid, she'd put a pencil across the top of my hands, and I'd have to play, and the pencil would have to stay still. Or she would say, there's an egg under your hand. If your hand goes down...
So your hands crawled like spiders.
And you love that, right?
No. No, the problem with the Leishativsky method, as it turns out, is it causes carpal tunnel syndrome.
Okay.
Because everything,
Someone's great idea.
Well, that's when you had to buy the Leishativsky strap. That coincidentally you can get on Leishativsky.com.
Well, actually,
Camel toe.
John Oliver has bought the leather jockstrap that you wear when you play on the Leishativsky method. But that was a very date-sensitive way of playing. Now, luckily, she never developed a problem. Instead, she had forearms the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger's, and this little 4'11" Jewish woman who
had anchor tattoos,
whose arm sack fell down 4 inches. Her party thing was she could crush a walnut between her forearm and her bicep,
and scoop the fuck out of some ice cream.
And when she
what makes a chick hot.
When she gave you the bubula thing, when she'd grab your chick, she'd grab your face, your whole face would go into her hand. It was like remember Edgar? Remember Edgar?
The thing with Edgar?
Tommy Lee. No. Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith.
Men in Black.
Men in Black. Yeah. The original Men in Black. It was like he was wearing an Edgar suit because he stretched his body up. His whole face got stretched. Yeah. That was my grandmother could Edgarize your face with her fingers. She had these crazy hands. But
what was the name of this method?
The Leishativsky method.
The Leishativsky method. That sounds like some deep, long ago birth control thing that involved a balled up sock
and a banjo
and a moose knuckle.
Back to
all of those knuckles.
Can we please keep the moose knuckles where they belong?
In polyester pants?
Believe it or not, there's a story here. So anyway, I've later learned to play using a method created by a pedant named Abby Whiteside, which is basically what everyone does now. And that is, you don't get your power from your hands. You're just going to ruin your hands. You get your power from your shoulders and your back and your butt. Playing piano is not an up and down, it's an in and out. But it's a whole body activity.
This is what was wrong with the Leishativsky
And
method
here's the larger point. I know I fed you that line.
Yeah,
I'd like a little gratitude.
Yeah, that's a hell of an assist. Really, the point should be attributed to the assister there.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll take a point. Okay. Nothing we do is all about one part of the body, one part of the brain, one part of the soul. Nothing we do, and don't even think the thought you're thinking right now.
I just want you to.
I don't even want you to think that thought. I don't want you to think that thought, because in reality, everything is a full body experience, and that includes anything we do having to do with culture, anything we having to do with anything that's human. You can't separate music out from history. You can't separate history out from personality. You can't separate anything from anything. If we're going to understand anything having to do with human activity, we have to understand as best we can everything having to do. Nothing occupies a place of its own. And the whole reason why I brought up this whole freaking Leishativsky thing was your kind statements about how I relate music to history. I'm not relating music to history. Music is history. History is music. It's all part of the great panoply of human experience and activity. And the moment we take one element away from this great panoply, we trivialize it. We reduce it to something less than what it really is. So I'm just trying to give context.
Well, I'm going to push back on that and say you wear the Smokey the Bear hat and the short trousers and guide us there. So it counts. You show us
as
what's
long
out
as they're
there.
not the polyester trousers,
Whatever,
baby.
they can be
Okay,
snug and
I'm
cotton.
just saying. All right, I can work with that.
Okay.
Normally, after something is said that's that cool, you would
hit the stop
you would
button,
drop a
first of
microphone.
all.
But Bob's got a headset, so you might want to take that off and drop it. Because that was awesome.
That was awesome. He is Dr. Robert Greenberg. You can get all of his content at robertgreenbergmusic.com, the first, last, and best place to buy all of that content, including over 1,000 hours of music education from the great courses. You will see his vlog. You will read thousands and thousands of words of wonderful entries of music history, from Music History Mondays, and we were honored to be your topic this past Monday, and I appreciate that. And I want to say that my lovely wife, who is always 100% supportive of me and a true soldier for everything that I've dragged her into, she typically stays relatively behind the scenes, and she does her thing, and she supports me in very gentle ways. But this was one of the rare occasions where she piped up and she supported me and Pete by sharing the post that you wrote about us, because it brought a tear to her eye. I want to say thank you for that. That was pretty awesome.
And
also,
thank you for that, because I put them through a lot of stress. That took a little steam off of me for a minute. You know?
Right.
Well, and just for folks listening, I rightly compared John and Pete to the great interviewers that I have ever had the opportunity to either work with or observe. And we're talking about the big time. I mean, the Larry Kings and the Oriana Fallacis and David Frost and Howard Stern. These are great interviewers who bring the very best out of the people they talk to. And this is what John and Pete do.
Well, part of that's because you pour a pretty fucking mean martini, Dr. Bob Greenberg. Thank you for joining us for this, your 9th or 10th or 11th episode. We hope for 150 more. Here's a little behind the scenes. When Pete and I are on our way to meet somebody, we will typically go through this exercise where Pete will say, "So what do you want to talk to Dr. Bob about?" And then I'll go, "I don't know, Pete." And I'll sound exasperated, and he'll go, "Well, how about this?" And we'll pitch back and forth some ideas. And then when we turn the mics on, we talk about none of those things.
None of them.
That sounds right.
But we do have to go through the exercise, and we've had to go through the exercise 256 times now.
Yeah.
Actually, 256 times. But today, we began the exercise. "Hey, what do you want to talk to Dr. Bob about?" And my reply was, "I'm not even thinking about it." And he said, "Neither am I."
That's right.
So, for being the guest who requires us not to think of anything because we know that it's going to come pouring out as soon as we turn microphones on, we want to thank you. Also for introducing us to Justin, whose work we want to highlight on his own episode of Break It Down Show very, very soon.
Thanks.
And we're not letting you up from that. Also, we want to go to the Walnut Creek Yacht Club and they have a fucking BLT sandwich that's got trout on it.
The trout BLT.
yeah.
The trout BLT. We're going to go there for lunch and have one of those.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, they make a fine martini.
Yeah.
And I don't, by saying that about someone else, it diminishes who I am. But I'm willing in this case. I'm willing.
He's going to take one for that.
Yeah.
I want to say my closing thing, too, is I know we talk about Dr. Bob's work, and it is important. If you need to put some spice into your love life, if you need to do something special for your lady, buy one of Dr. Bob's courses, buy some fucking tickets to the goddamn opera, let her put a nice dress on, and take her out, would you please? And Dr. Bob will take care of everything else from there. You will be set.
Can I do my close now?
Please.
All right, so I just thought I was coming over to hang out. I had no idea I was going to be on the show, and I love the fact that I got to hang out and be on the show. All I would really like moving forward is to be on your show again and a Break It Down t-shirt.
Boom.
Oh, yeah, we got to make that happen.
Yeah.
No big deal.
We will. And Dr. Bob needs one, too. Everybody needs a Break It Down show shirt. All right. Message received. All right. I'm going to do it.
We got it. I'm going to hit up my cousin Reggie. Reggie. He's got a t-shirt press in his garage, and he's going to hook us up. Dave Miller our special guest for this evening. Thank you for joining us. Do you have a close for it?
I just think Dr. Bob's commentary on music may be specious, but his martinis are not. That's about as good as it's going to get.
All right. Terrific. Thanks, man. Thank you for gracing us once again.
Love it.
And we'll
thank you, Lily, for the cookies.
Thanks for the cookies,
Thank
Lily.
you, Lily.
Amen.
No specious there, maybe.